Well, hello.
Hello.
Guess who's joining me?
Da, da, da.
First of all, before we get rolling into all of this, you can expect that this video will be nothing like a lot of our videos have been in basically ever. Chelsea is here with me. First of all, that's going to change the tempo, and that's amazing. But we're going to be talking about some stuff that's been years in the making. And by that, we mean most seriously. It's the definition of our focus strategy, and we're going to try to lay that out for you all. If you want to kind of tune in for a moment, this is not just going to be a lighthearted message. We're going to try to actually talk to you guys about what it is we're trying to do and accomplish, and the work that we've been really focused on building and creating over the past, really, few years of our life. And it's an area that we've kind of held a little bit close to the chest and not really talked about too publicly. Except for kind of chapters, I published some of this stuff in my book, but that's a little bit different now because now we've just been actually living it. And so if you didn't know it, Chelsea and I have really been living our lives on the road for a strategic reason. And a lot of that has to do with something that we've been trying to do, that we have felt burdened to do for years of our life, which is to also vet out and establish a somewhat underground network of different people scattered all across the country that could potentially be entrusted to an opportunity to host people that may be traveling, people that may be in need, people that may just actually be genuinely on the run in a desperate situation because they no longer are safe to live where they currently are. And so we've been blessed with an opportunity to be freed up from living in the neighborhood that we'd been in all these years. And we got an opportunity to get a home on wheels. And we actually got to go live with other people. And that gave us a whole different kind of window into people's lives and allowed us the opportunity to see where some of those places might be a good fit and where they might not be. Yes. So that's going to be kind of a big part one of this video. The second part is going to be some of our long-term visions and plans of what we're trying to accomplish with a longer-term refuge site for us and then potentially for other people as well. A little bit more of a discipled training and deepening of a roots facility where we can actually settle in for a while and establish a strong place of building up more training materials and equipping of the body, not just locally, but internationally. So we've had a lot of people all over the world that have reached out to us, like really awesome people, Croatia, South Africa, Australia, all over the world. And we want to be able to try to equip those people in the right kind of ways as well. So You're not neglected out there. Just because your country may be minuto to some, you have mighty powers, and we would love to see it expressed. So,
yes.
You ready for this?
Yeah, I am. I'm excited.
It's been a little while. We also have a baby we got to check on occasion.
I have my head on a swivel here.
Just note that.
If I'm looking over here,
it's because we got to take a peek at
I'm watching the children.
It's a tiny house, but not so tiny that we don't have somewhat of a doors between us.
And a lot of our only free time is at night after the children are in bed.
And then she's free.
I'm free. Okay, sorry.
It's real. I made her chamomile tea. It's like her warning.
It's getting rowdy.
It's getting rowdy. So expect us to be all hopped up on enthusiasm and moderate amounts of herbal free time. We're an herby bunch. So Chelsea and I, we really set out on an adventure, but we had a real serious strategy in mind. And what we ended up tapping into, because we realized very quickly that if you're just someone who's going on the road life, there's not like a known collected underground network that's really established to tell you like, hey, this is a place you can go to and stay here and do this. It's basically the most disjointed mess we've ever seen, like trying to find a place to park for a night. Sometimes you can go to one app and look on this website and it'll tell you for sure you can park there. Another one will tell you like you're going to get pulled over by policemen almost immediately. So you don't want to stay there. We've learned things like how to covertly camp in people's neighborhoods that we weren't invited into, by the way. I've snuck into gated communities with a 35-foot RV towing a car. I just follow the cars into the gates when they open the gates and nobody stops a giant bus.
He must know where he's going.
That guy clearly has been invited to this parade.
He had the code. How did he get in here? He must have the code.
I didn't have the code to get out. I just had prayer. I just had a lot of prayer, and I believed the fire was leading me there by night. Seriously, though, we've stayed in all kinds of properties, in all kinds of places, because we felt like we were called to go there. That was why we went. We went because, or also people invited us. And that's a huge piece of this. We sincerely need people that are burdened by the Father and are in agreement with some of the work that we're trying to do here, that feel pressed and burdened to do this. And you are someone who is hospitable. You're someone who has that desire and that calling on your life. There's a lot of you that don't. I love you, but you're not the most hospitable folks. You know what I'm talking about. Some of you
have other giftings. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. You don't need to be hosting people all the time, because we know some of you, it's like draining your life essence out of your soul just to have other people in your house all the time. And sometimes we're in your house a lot because we need to do a lot of laundry. We have toddlers, and I'm a man who sweats constantly. I picked up a dead snake today. My clothes got ruined. It's true. That's why I didn't want you to set them down and hang them up instead.
It was also raining. It was very muddy.
I'm muddy.
And you milked a lot of goats today.
I did. That I did. Speaking of goats, cinnamon goat latte? Yes, please.
Goat lattes are the best.
Oh, so good.
Seriously good.
But you may even have livestock. You may not. People, I think, we kind of had an idea in our head that we would need to always go to somewhere where they had land. Wonderful large acreage that was relatively completely flat so I could park my RV there. But we also learned that I could park on somewhat slanted areas. We saw that there was so much blessing, though, when we opened up our minds to just staying in people's driveways or even just on the street in their neighborhood. Some of the...
Mooch docking.
We call it mooch docking. You made a Rolling with the Reynolds video?
I did. Yep.
What was that about?
It's, I think it was the 3rd episode or something. It was mooch docking. Yeah, it was about mooch
It
docking.
was amazing. Mooch docking is what we call it. It's not a derogatory term.
No.
It just means that you suddenly are hosting people that are pilgrims passing through.
Yes.
But we've stayed in neighborhoods where they had super strict HOAs, and we've had no problems whatsoever. We've stayed in places that had no HOAs, and we've been harassed almost immediately.
Yes.
We've stayed everywhere in between and had the best time. I wrote a blog post called Pearl Hunting, which was about a time down in somewhere in Texas, staying with a family who let us stay in someone's driveway next door to theirs in a house that was being built and or was being sold.
Yep.
Was being sold, and we stayed in that driveway next door. And
For 12 days?
For 12 days. And our other friends who had a 40-foot school bus stayed in the front of the road, and he ran power.
We were like an L.
We were
The
like a
super L.
giant L. And
blocking off his whole
yeah, man.
area.
Compound, you got it, son. You've never been more protected in your life. It's true. But it was fantastic. He ran water hoses out to
both of
one
us.
and power. It was amazing.
Power out to both of our rigs. Let everyone do millions of loads of laundry. Fed us. It was wonderful. It was a great fellowship. It was a great time.
It's a lifetime friendship that's been cultivated through that and
That's
because
right.
of that. Because what we realized is that one of the most powerful tools that Chelsea and I do have in abundance is time. Not uber amounts of it, but we can actually show up and live at your house for a while. And if you live with people for more than, say, a couple days, we've noticed there's a thing that happens around 5 days to 12 or 14 days. It depends. Certain people, the masks come down real soon, and you just get to see it really quickly. But when you actually share your life, when there's mutual exchange of life that's happening for an ongoing period of time, beyond just like the shortened weekend holiday kind of feel, when you get to labor with people alongside them and you get to experience that, you get to know people really well. And you get to know really what's at the heart of those individuals. And because of that, it's allowed us to sift through people. It really has. Chelsea and I have been treasure hunting for a while now. We've been hunting for pearls. If you haven't checked out the Nature Nate series,
For pearls.
check out Nature Nate. She does a great job helping me hunt for pearls.
Yes.
She really does.
I've even found some of my own. They haven't made it in an episode yet. but
Not
they will.
yet. If you, we put out our videos a couple months after we've actually had those experiences a lot of times, because it takes a while to get through those experiences sometimes.
Babies, toddlers.
And a lot of parking lots. Sometimes if we spend weeks trying
Our
to
Wi-Fi
find...
not being great.
Oh.
That's why the delay of our videos a lot of times
A lot.
is
a
because
lot.
we don't have service.
So if you have cell service or Wi-Fi, that's even a thing that's a huge boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a major draw. But because of that, all these different times with these people's houses and everything else, it's allowed us the ability to vet through people really effectively and get to what it is that would be maybe a good beneficial placement for that person or other people, because we meet all kinds of people that are travelers and hosts. And those are two big categories, because some of you may be called to be a traveler.
Yeah.
Some of you may be being called to the wilderness and being called to leave
Right now.
right now, get out right now. But others of you may be being like, why do I have to stay in my neighborhood?
I don't want to stay here. But Yahweh won't let me leave.
We have a lot of phone
That's real.
calls with you guys.
That's real.
And
It happened to us even before we could leave. We had to stay.
for 5 years. 5 years, we had
We didn't really want to,
not even a little bit.
but he did.
Yeah. And he said it was not his time.
Yeah.
And he confirmed that to both of us the same day,
Yes.
separately.
Yep.
And that was very powerful. And he will confirm those things to you also by allowing those doors to open up and allow you to get on the road if you do think you're called to the road, and or if you're called outside of a city and out to a farm or out to a remote strategic relocation place. Rural. So we are really wanting to help people that want to be good hosts out there find people that need to be hosted, because we've been tapped into these different kind of groups and online, I don't even know, relocation groups. They're connection sites, like farmersonly.com. It's not like that. It's not the same. We're not dating these people. But we just plan to eat and share lives with them and do laundry with them and live with them and eat with them and basically date these people.
It's a site that connects farm people who want to work on a farm with hosts of a farm.
And so like we've tapped into things like that. We've tried all kinds of different ones that are out there. And the problem that we ran into, one of the biggest drawbacks, is that there is not one that is just like geared towards believers. And what we've instead seen is that the vast majority of them are non-believers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of non-believers out there who have way better hospitality than the people in the kingdom. And I think what's an interesting thing that's happened recently is all these churches shut their doors. And they used to be a place that was recognized mentally as a house of refuge. But they've literally, I can't tell you how many empty church parking lots I've driven by that will not open it and host a family that lives on the road that needs a
that's
place to
real.
sleep. So instead, we stay in parking lots of grocery stores. And that's not super fun. But there's so many of those families that are no longer in those churches that are at their homes, at their properties, that could be hosting families instead. And that's the Underground Railroad concept that I write about constantly. It's a deep, there's been a desire in my soul since I was born to be able to see that effectively work in the body of Messiah. And that's why I did this whole series on becoming a Gibborim and talking about underground church movements in other countries, because that's how it looks over there. It looks like that because they aren't in church buildings all the time, because when they stay in there, they get persecuted and or they have to conform to such an extent that it compromises their faith. And they realize that you're not in the faith if you're compromised because your foundations are broken. And so we've fallen in love with meeting authentic believers that reach out and offer and extend that to us or to other people that we know.
And especially now with the whole COVID thing, like that's a whole other situation that's going on right now, is that that's really limited our options as well as we've been out there, is that we've reached out to 30 some farms, and 6 got back to us, and 3 said no. 3 or 4 said no.
Yeah. Or there's been loss of jobs, there's loss of income, or they're just totally terrified.
Yeah.
And they're not even willing to allow anybody.
All of the above. And it's just that's been a real shift too. I think being a traveler, it's a very vulnerable time to be a traveler and to be a pilgrim out there. Instead of having to turn to all these external sources where you have to have memberships to, or these external secular sources that, okay, we might be able to go stay with a family, but, they're steeped heavily in New Age, and we don't trust our child being around them, and we don't even know what's going on their property. We don't know anything about them on a deeper level, and just being able to have, I guess, more of a Christian based, that Christian Truther Awake community, why can't we have a network of people like that we can reach out to and be a resource for not only ourselves, but for others, like others who are walking this way and are awake to a lot of the similar things that we are. And I think that is like you said, Nathan, an untapped resource out there. That needs to be utilized for the kingdom and needs to be utilized to help benefit the body of believers, especially those traveling and those who are stationary and the Lord is calling them to stay in the neighborhood or stay put on their land. But it doesn't mean that just because you're staying put where God wants you, it doesn't mean that he can't utilize you to then host travelers or to be connected with somebody who is passing through. There's
people that even have small, tiny amounts of land, little bits of land. We have seen them host people that are homeless or other travelers and pour out of their very little.
That's right.
More than I've ever seen in my life personally. It's unbelievable. And some of them do that so wisely by getting free trailers, free old school buses, free old travel, travel trailers. You can seriously find some incredible things out there if you're free and resourceful and able to find somebody else maybe who has a truck or even a van that can drag it onto your property and plop it there, build composting toilets. We have seen so many different ways of people using their little or their much to be so effective at hosting and serving people that are in need. It's staggering. There is so much capacity in the body of believers that is just untapped because we have not turned our eyes to look at every bit of resources we potentially have within our armory as something I can use effectively for the kingdom today. Like, there's a lot of you who have just an extra bedroom. And some of these websites that we were using, they were just letting the people who come and be farmers on their property just stay in their house with them. And they shared meals with them. And they just added one extra portion to the meals every single day. And travelers can connect people with good labor and with education and skills that they don't have. We've been traveling around growing and cultivating skill sets along the way, different techniques, different methods, and it's been fantastic. But it's also been pretty exhausting at times. So sometimes you just need a hospitality house. And other times you need a place where you can get to work and put some plants in the grounds with people or milk some goats. And I'm in that phase right now.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's good.
It is good.
So we're hoping for people to be actually confident in finding a way to connect that. Those websites that we found before, they did not have a strong network of believers. There was thousands of farms on one of them. And there was literally, I think, less than 15. How many was it?
Oh,
you just looked it up?
On the whole website, there was 28.
28 total farms.
And I was just searching with the keyword like Christian. To just try to find
Jesus, believers. We tried different kind of like key
Jesus
search
follower,
words.
like Yahweh, like just tried different things. But like 28 in this whole network.
Here's what we're getting at. There's a huge hole in the body, and that's for people that do want to have the opportunity to connect other people like that. And so Chelsea and I do feel burdened that that's something that we are called to do. And we are trying to help establish that. And a big portion of that is vetting. And so we want to be able to do that. If you've ever considered something like that, reach out to us. You can do that at SNATCHEDFROMTHEFLAMES@protonmail.com. It's a bit more secure.
Yes.
Just saying. That's big vision number one. Okay. We want people who have that desire to be able to get connected. We also want travelers to be connected. So that's a whole other piece to this. We love getting to know you guys, getting to talk to you guys.
Please reach out. Please contact us. We want to know that you're traveling. We want to know where you are in case we're in that area. Maybe we can meet up. Joni and Adam have been one of the ones that we did meet up with on the road. And it was so cool because then we did the whole series Caravan to Cali. We caravanned with them. We literally drove across the country with them. And it was really, really special being able to share that with each other out on the open road, because on the road there are challenges unlike any other. And it can be hard and it can be difficult, and it's really nice to have another family alongside you that knows exactly what you're going through, knows exactly what the struggles are of road life, and the challenges that brings, that this lifestyle brings. So
the second big thing that we are trying to propose as well is a longer term vision that we have for a refuge, an actual refuge. whether that's a single one or whether that will develop into multiple refuges along the way. But that be a property that Chelsea and I can definitely plant at and be able to build and establish for us what it is, the vision that we've been called to long term, which is to train and equip people and send them out to be effective, mighty Gibborim in the end of days. And I'm not just saying like the tribulation, capital T. Like, I absolutely live my life in the absolute knowing that my days are ending perpetually. And I have no idea of when my days are over. You don't either. And it's a very serious thing that I live my life that way all the time. And I know that I have an ability to inspire other people to live with serious vigor about what it is that they've been entrusted to in this short window of time that we're being given. And I want people to be trained up and equipped to be able to go out and be effective in the body like never before. And we need a place that we're able to settle down and be able to advance that and do that. Some of you may have something like that you have never known what to do with, or you want to be able to contribute that towards somebody. Please reach out to us and let us know. Because that's something we've been longing for and looking to do. And that may be something that we're able to plant somewhere for a while and then start another one elsewhere and be able to hand that over to other stewards and move on like that. So we kind of want to build a roadmap across the country and across the states. And ideally then, if he would so grant us an opportunity to go internationally and to start traveling to these other places where there's so much need in the body. And we want to be able to contribute to that and then learn. Ultimately, Chelsea and I still have so much to learn.
We do.
We have so much to learn, and there's so much wisdom that is trapped up in so many of your minds out there that we would love to experience. Your land holds so much riches and so much blessings that are waiting to be learned by us and by other people along the way. And there's lessons that I feel like we cannot learn from the scriptures unless we pour the sweat of our brow into a property, unless we share that and co-labor with somebody else to accomplish and bringing the fruit of the lands forward and bringing the fruits of the kingdom to their potential ripeness, because we do believe the days are evil in so many ways, and there's a lot of people who are looking at all of that all the time. And Chelsea and I want to instead set our vision on the power of the kingdom that is being manifested in front of us, the revelation of the good news of deliverance and salvation and hope and avenging. Like, there's going to be an avenger who will come and redeem us all, and it is not anyone but the rider on the white horse. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that day. We're eagerly longing for that. But until that time, we're seeking to prepare the body so that we could be equipped to be able to be effective in the days that we're facing now. So those are kind of the heart of what Chelsea and I were hoping to be able to talk to you guys about tonight. Our real deepest desire with having a refuge and having a property for us to go to is for us to have somewhere we can actually plant and be with our family and stay alongside to see multiple harvests come in. I have a hesitancy, I think, sometimes to just say it so obliquely to people, but my family, that's what we need. We do need that. We need other people that have that and are seeking to share that with others, because there's going to be ways that we want to advance what it is that we feel called to do that we cannot do unless we have a property of our own in order to do that on. And so honestly, if there's people that actually just want to contribute to us a piece of land that they don't have any need for, they want to turn over to different people, that is what we're interested in. We're interested in that so that we can actually have roots to grow a foundation and lay it in and be able to do with the property and experiment onto a property and try to do with the property what we've had envisioned and the things that we've learned along this way. But we want that. We really do. We want to deepen our roots. And that's also because the life stages that we're going through with our children mandate a little more space. And it's difficult to find that space when you're in parking lots where it's really not safe to let your baby crawl around on when you got to pile out of the RV. We would really like to be able to have something like that. And that's something like I just need to be completely honest and upfront about. My family would love somewhere to stay and to be ours and to be a property that we can have a refuge on.
Yeah.
Because there's such a need for refuges for so many people. And I'm not alone in that.
Yes.
My family needs a refuge. We need a place to be and to live in the way that we feel called to live and to be. And it doesn't have to be much. It doesn't have to be little. It can be exactly what it is that the Father entrusts to us. And we're eager for it and we're longing for it. And we have a deep desire in our soul for it. And we've wanted that for as long as we've ever known each other, And we trusted that he would bring that to us in his right time. And so we've gone out and looked at places all across this country now and climates and places that we want to live and don't want to live and people we want to live around and people we don't want to live around. We've tested it out all over the place. And then we've learned the skills that we needed to try to apply it to the land that we would be entrusted in faith, because he's shown us visions that it would be accomplished. And we want to believe that and walk in that and follow after him as he leads us to it. And so for us, we're going to continue to press forward on that, because that for us is a huge part of our desire and our deepest dream, is to have a property like that. I want a piece of land that I can get my wife an alpaca on. That is when I know I've gotten to a place in my life where I feel like I have served my wife for the labor of love that she has served me in so many ways.
Do you guys want to know why I want an alpaca? I know it seems kind of weird, but I just want an alpaca that I can raise from a baby, and its wool will be so wonderful and warm and beautiful, and I'll brush it, and then one day I will shave it off, and another day I will brush that wool, clean it, spin it, maybe dye it, then spin it, then crochet it into a hat for you or me to wear, or somebody else.
Yes.
to clothe our bodies. I don't know, that's just a deep longing I have. That is a deep bucket list of Chelsea's.
I want to satisfy her in that. I honestly have a deep desire.
I don't know why I want to spin wool, guys. It's just like I gotta get it. I gotta do it.
You've let me go look for fossils.
I gotta do it.
She's let me look for fossils, and she helped me scratch that. I want her to scratch that. You guys all saw that, right? You all saw that.
I gotta do it.
I watched her hold a baby goat today, and she is so in love with this tiny baby goat. And the RV lifestyle does not allow for baby goats, right? She has such a love for them.
It's like, you guys, so we didn't even tell you guys about this because it was so devastating. But we lost Noodle, you guys.
Oh.
We had to put Noodle Girl down on the way down to Florida, on the way down to that farm, you guys. She got so sick, and we had to put her down, and it was a devastating blow to our entire family, including Naomi, who they were inseparable. But that was my homegirl too. And anyway, we had to put her down, and we've been missing animals too. That's why we're so glad to be on where we are right now, just snuggling some goats and milking some goats. But this baby goat, you guys, it's like the Noodle of goats. I just want to take her on the road with me. She's the Noodle of goats. So anyway, maybe I'll find the Noodle of alpacas. Come on. What Nate was saying though about the refuges, like that is just these refuges, these little places of safety and giving life and just being a sustainable, connected place of healing. I mean, we really experienced that down on the farm in Florida. We were feeling called to go to Florida. I don't know if have we talked about this at all?
I don't think so.
We didn't know where we were going to go after we had Jubilee. And we had to get off the El Dorado property.
Because the owner came back.
She came back.
Sometimes it goes like that.
She came back and she said, I know I was going to let you guys stay through the end of October. Well, now I'm going to need you out by October 1st. So we had to hit the road when Jubilee was 1.5 months old. And before that, we were kind of scrambling to try to find a place to go because we didn't know where we were going. Winter's coming, all of those things starting to kick in. And we're like, well, we want to go south because we got to go warmer. But we don't know where. And Nate had been praying about it and just felt like the Lord was telling us to go to Florida. So then we got on one of those websites with the farms, connecting the hosts and the farmers. And we went to Florida and we said, where do we want to go in Florida? Where do you want to live? That's what he asked me. He said, where do you want to live in Florida? And we both looked at each other at the same time and we said, Sanibel Island, which is where we found all those seashells. So we looked for farms down near Sanibel Island, and we found a couple of farms, and we reached out to them, contacted them, and they both got back to us. But one in particular, we felt total peace that was indeed the farm that Yahweh had intended for us to go to. And we were like, okay, we're going to drive almost 2,000 miles on faith, hoping that this works out. And boy, did it. We went down there, and it was an incredible place of healing for us. Not only Nathan, but myself. Like, the Lord ministered to us so powerfully down there and connected so many of those parables that Jesus talks about farming, finally connected that stuff like in our souls, like in a deep place in us. And really, I mean, you can talk more about like how you felt like, and I know you've talked about this a little bit before, but how like you felt the work ethic and the sweat of the brow, how it was healing you.
Yeah.
Like, it was so cool. It was such a neat opportunity. And it truly was a healing farm. We got down there. We were so hot. It was
tell 'em why.
So hot. It was the last dog days of summer for Florida in that area.
November.
It was
96.
impossibly hot. We were running our AC pretty much 24/7.
Well, no, our generator broke on the way down there. We didn't even tell other people.
Sorry.
So I have to put my
We haven't told anybody this story.
We had to
just
put
need
our
to tell them.
We had to put our cat down in a parking lot. Guess who had to do that? This guy. Not always my favorite thing to put animals down, right? I wrote 5 chapters in my book about it because it was so devastating the last time I had to do it. It's not easy on me.
No, it's
People
horrible.
was one thing. Animals was different. Noodle animals, the worst
Whole other
kind.
level.
Then we went from there, and on our journey down to Florida, we basically depleted everything we had left, and then our generator broke, and we had no means to finish the journey, literally. Shout out to Frenzy who helped us actually physically get down there. Thank you. But our generator, we rolled in there literally with no generator, no air conditioning, 96 degrees. I had no idea what the farm even looked like because the pictures that he had were like 8 years old and they were like this big. And you couldn't zoom them in intentionally, which is strategic, right? Because we could talk about strategies.
He's wise.
But we got down there, man. We were exhausted just getting there. We were so done and depleted. I had just found some dinosaur bones. That helped immensely. But I almost broke my ankle that same day I found the dinosaur bones.
And then we drove through a really kind of roughish area.
We were not...
Like, where are we going?
We
Why
definitely...
are we down here? This is not Sanibel Island.
Oh.
So we get down there, and it is so hot, you guys. We did plug into power and water, thankfully, on the farm. But we were running our AC 24/7. When we walk out the door, you would just start pouring sweat. And we were beet red, and I was just like, this is so...
And wearing a 1.5-month-old baby.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, this is so much. And then they gave us a tour of the farm, and they're like, okay, kids can't go in the greenhouses, understandably so. That's a good rule, because they're going to damage
everything.
The money crop, tomatoes.
$5 a pound tomatoes.
Yeah, it's precious real estate in there. So I totally understand that rule. But I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep my 3-year-old occupied outside? And then I'm going to have to wear my baby in while I go into these greenhouses that are hot. Like, I was getting so overwhelmed. And the farmer goes over to the this shed where he packed, where some of the food was for the farm help was located, and he pulls out a papaya and he goes, oh, this papaya, it's perfectly ripe. He said, take this and eat it. And I grabbed it and I said, and he's like, do you like papaya? And I said, I've only ever had one and it was terrible. I bought it from the grocery store and it was tasteless. It was disgusting.
Vomit.
It was disgusting. And he gives me this papaya. It's enormous. And I see that it's got this big hole in it. And he said, oh, that's from where a bird pecked a hole into it, you know. So this becomes the food for the people who live on the farm because we can't sell it, right? So we can eat it. It's still perfectly good. Cut around the hole. It's perfectly good. So anyway, I go back to the RV and I have this papaya that a bird pecked a hole in, which that's a whole other story for another time about how I had to wrestle with, basically when I had my own garden, if there was a wormhole in something, I wouldn't want to eat it because a worm ate a hole in it. So I would just compost it and I would only eat the pretty vegetables. I would never eat the ones with the wormholes in them. But come to find out, especially when it comes to lettuce, that the lettuce that has the holes in it that the bugs have eaten is actually better for you because it causes the plant to start producing phytokines for our bodies. And it's actually really beneficial for us. Side note. Anyway, God had to teach me that lesson down there.
Yeah.
So I'm holding this papaya with a bird hole pecked out of it. And I'm like, I don't even know how to cut a papaya open. What do I even do? Do I peel it? What do I do? I cut it in half, opened it up.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I take a spoon and I just scooped out some of the flesh and I just bit into it. And I had tears welling up in my eyes because I felt like God spoke to me in that moment. And he said, taste and see that I am good. It's going to be okay. Like, you're going to be okay here. Because I was freaking out inside. I was like, we just drove 2,000 miles down here.
40 hours a week.
We're sweating. We're going to work 40 hours a week with a newborn and a toddler that can't come in the greenhouses with us. Like, what are we doing? Are we crazy? And God was like, taste and see that I am good. And it's okay. It's going to be okay here. And not only was it not okay, but it was one of the most beautiful places we have ever lived. A complete refuge, a complete sanctuary of beautiful just environment, beautiful birds, beautiful people working there on the farm alongside us.
Yeah.
A beautiful family and farmer who owned the property, who spoke wisdom into our lives, had so much wisdom, so much grace, so much enthusiasm for life.
Mm-hmm.
And that place healed us and restored us in so many ways I can't even describe to you. But that was so cool. And we left there feeling like that place has got it going on. And I didn't even know this. This is so crazy. I experienced that, right? And God literally ministered to me through a papaya to taste and see that he is good. And later, after living on the farm for a little while, we come to find out that the farmer's the one main vision for his farm is that he wants people to taste his food and see that God is good. That is his main mission for his farm. And it literally, he pours that into the land. He pours that into the cultivation.
Every seed.
Everything.
From seed to table, every bit of the process.
And it literally... I could taste that.
Yeah.
How incredible is that? That's incredible. And it was this, we were eating this food. It was healing our bodies. It was healing our souls. It was ministering to us in ways that we didn't even know we needed. That's a refuge. That's a refuge site. And we left that property being like, that is a refuge. That is what we want to find and discover all over the United States and be able to connect people with each other, with those resources, to be able to find that healing, to be able to get healed, to find that fellowship, to have that community, to have that experience, that encounter with the Almighty God. That's what we want. And that is what our deepest desire is for that network, building that network of people who host families wherever you are, or host person if you're just a single person. Don't underestimate what you can do even as one person. You can pour your life into somebody else. You can minister to them in the only way that you could.
Yeah.
And it can be powerful. And we want to make those connections. And some of these places are going to be pit stops along the way. We want to, depending on who we meet and what they can provide for people, some of these are going to be pit stops. Some of these are going to be places of respite, just rest. Some of these places are going to be sanctuaries and refuges for deeper healing for people. And they might not even know it. They might just think they're stopping on your property to stay the night, and then they have a crazy encounter with the Almighty God and get ministered to in such a powerful way that they never expected. That's what we're hoping for. To connect these host farms, host families, host properties, host locations with weary travelers,
Yeah.
pilgrims, sojourners, other families who are feeling that they want to be called out. They just don't know where to go. And this family over here says, we have a guest house that we don't even use.
Yeah.
And we have no community. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do. We want to be able to connect people in a way that they haven't been able to be connected before now, because there is no resource, there is no network out there for like-minded awake believers. I gotta go check on her.
Oh, yeah. So if that's something that you want to be a part of or partner with us for, please reach out to us and let us know. You can contact us at SNATCHEDFROMTHEFLAMES.com. Or, if you would like, please share this video with those that you think may be interested in this, or they may be a good fit for it too. We love you guys. We look forward to being able to talk to you all and share with you more about that farm. Chelsea's working on that too. Pray for us, though. It's been intentionally and strategically difficult in so many ways to get that one out there. But we would want to be able to do that. We want to share that with you guys. We want you to see the lessons that we got to learn along the way, because there were so many that came that are indescribable without the ability to be able to show you it. And so we're trying to figure out how to be able to do that most effectively. So we love you guys. We look forward to hearing from you soon. We'll talk to you later.